Shabbat Shalom, Mishpaka. We're back for some more scripture reading. Spectacles. Hallelujah scriptures. And on to Bereshith, or Genesis 18. Excuse me. And Yahuwah appeared to him by the terebinth trees of Mamre, while he was sitting in the tent door in the heat of the day. So he lifted his eyes and looked, and saw 3 men standing opposite him. And when he saw them, he ran from the tent door to meet them, and bowed himself to the ground, and said, Yahuwah, if I have now found favor in your eyes, please do not pass your servant by. Please let a little water be brought, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. And let me bring a piece of bread, and refresh your hearts, and then go on. For this is why you have come to your servant. And they said, do as you have said. So Abraham ran into the tent to Sarah and said, hurry, make ready 3 seahim of fine flour, knead it and make cakes. And Abraham ran to the herd, took a tender and good calf, gave it to a young man, and he hurried to prepare it. And he took curds and milk and the calf which he had prepared, and put it before them, and he stood by them under the tree as they ate. And they said to him, where is Sarah your wife? And he said, see, in the tent. And he said, I shall certainly return to you according to the time of life, and see, Sarah your wife is to have a son. And Sarah was listening in the tent door, which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, well advanced in age, and Sarah was past the way of women. And Sarah laughed within herself, saying, after I have grown old, shall I have pleasure, my master being old too? And Yahuwah said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh, saying, shall I truly have a child since I am old? Is any matter too hard for Yahuwah? At the appointed time I am going to return to you, according to the time of life, and Sarah is to have a son. But Sarah denied it, saying, I did not laugh, but she was afraid. And he said, no, but you did laugh. And the men rose up from there and looked toward Sodom. And Abraham went with them to send them away. And Yahweh said, shall I hide from Abraham what I am doing? Since Abraham is certainly going to become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be Barak in him. For I have known him, so that he commands his children and his household after him, to guard the way of Yahuwah, to do righteousness and right ruling, so that Yahuwah brings to Abraham what he has spoken to him. And Yahuwah said, because the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very heavy, I am going down now to see whether they have done altogether according to the outcry against it that has come to me. And if not, I know. So the men turned away from there and went toward Sodom, but Abraham still stood before Yahuwah. And Abraham drew near and said, would you also destroy the righteous with the wicked? Suppose there are 50 righteous within the city. Would you also destroy the place and not spare it for the 50 righteous that were in it? Far be it from you to act in this way, to slay the righteous with the wicked, so that the righteous would be as the wicked. Far be it from you. Does the judge of all the earth not do right? And Yahweh said, if I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I shall spare all the place for their sakes. And Abraham answered and said, Look, please, I who am but dust and ashes have taken it upon myself to speak to Yahuwah. Suppose there are 5 less than the 50 righteous. Would you destroy all of the city for the lack of 5? And he said, If I find there 45, I do not destroy it. And he spoke to him yet again, and said, Suppose there are found 40. And he said, I would not do it for the sake of 40. And he said, Let not Yahuwah be displeased, and let me speak. Suppose there are found 30. And he said, I would not do it if I find 30. And he said, Look, please, I have taken it upon myself to speak to Yahuwah. Suppose there are found 20. And he said, I would not destroy it for the sake of 20. And he said, Let not Yahuwah be displeased, and let me speak only this time. Suppose there are found 10. And he said, I would not destroy it for the sake of 10. Then Yahuwah went away as soon as he had ended speaking to Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place. And the 2 messengers came to Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. And when Lot saw them, he rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face towards the ground. And he said, Look, please, my masters, please turn in to your servant's house and spend the night, and wash your feet, and rise early and go your way. And they said, No, but let us spend the night in the open square. But he urged them strongly, and they turned in to him and came into his house. And he made them a feast and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. We're into 19, by the way. Before they lay down, the men of the city, the men of Sodom, both old and young, all the people from every part surrounded the house. And they called to Lot and said to him, Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us, and let us know them. So Lot went out to them through the doorway, and shut the door behind him, and said, Please, my brothers, do not do evil. Look, please, I have 2 daughters who have not known a man. Please let me bring them out to you, and do to them as in... Oh, forgive me. Please let me bring them out to you, and do to them as is good in your eyes. Only do no deed to these men, because they have come under the shadow of my roof. But they said, Stand back. And they said, This one came in to sojourn, and should he always judge? Now we are going to treat you worse than them. So they pressed hard against the man Lot, and came near to break down the door. But the men reached out their hands and pulled Lot into the house with them and shut the door. Then they struck the men who were at the doorway of the house with blindness, both small and great. And they wearied themselves to find the door. And the men said to Lot, Have you anyone else here, a son-in-law, and your sons, and your daughters, and whomever you have in the city? Bring them out of this place. For we are going to destroy this place, because the cry against them has grown great before the face of Yahuwah, and Yahuwah has sent us to destroy it. And Lot went out and spoke to his son-in-law, who had married his daughters, and said, Get up, get out of this place, for Yahuwah is going to destroy the city. But to his son-in-law he seemed to be as one joking. And when morning dawned, the messengers urged Lot to hurry, saying, Get up, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, lest you be consumed in the punishment of the city. And while he lingered, the men took hold of his hand and his wife's hand, and the hands of his 2 daughters, Yahuwah having compassion on him, and they brought him out and put him outside of the city. And it came to be, when they had brought them outside, that he had said, "Escape for your life. Do not look behind you, nor stay anywhere in the plain. Escape to the mountains, lest you be consumed." And Lot said to them, "Oh no, Yahuwah, look, please, your servant has found favor in your eyes, and you have increased your kindness, which you have shown me by saving my life. But I am unable to escape to the mountains, lest calamity overtake me and I die. Look, please, the city is near enough to flee to, and it is small. Please let me escape there. It is not a small matter, and let my life be saved." And he said to him, "Look, I have favored you concerning this matter. Also, without overthrowing the city for which you have spoken, hurry, escape there, for I am not able to do any deed until you arrive there." So the name of the city was called Zoar. The sun had risen upon the earth when Lot entered Zoar, and Yahuwah rained sulfur and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah from Yahuwah out of the Shamayim. So he overthrew those cities and all the plain, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and what grew on the ground. But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a post of salt. And Abraham arose early in the morning to the place where he had stood before Yahuwah. And he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah, and toward all the land of the plain. And he looked and saw the smoke of the land, which went up like a smoke of a furnace. Thus it came to be, when Elohim destroyed the cities of the plain, that Elohim remembered Abraham, and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in which Lot had dwelt. And Lot went up out of Zoar, and dwelt in the mountains, and his 2 daughters were with him. For he was afraid to dwell in Zoar, and he said his daughters dwelt in a cave. And the firstborn said to the younger, "Our father is old, and there is no man on the earth to come in to us, as is the way of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine and lie with him, so that we preserve the seed of our father." So they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he was not aware of it when she lay down or when she arose. And it came to be on the next day that the firstborn said to the younger, "See, I lay with my father last night. Let us make him drink wine tonight as well, and you go in and lie with him, so that we keep the seed of our father." So they made their father drink wine that night as well, and the younger arose and lay with him, and he was not aware of it when she lay down or when she arose. Thus both the daughters of Lot became pregnant by their father. And the firstborn bore a son, and called his name Moab. He is the father of the Moabites to this day. And the younger, she also bore a son, and called his name Ben-Ami. He is the father of the children of Ammon to this day. And now we're going to stop. We'll get into 20 in the next one, because we've already hit 14. Shalom, family. Love you.